Right, here we go. I'm on to June 2006 now. I'm doing two in a row because why not? So, here we go. I'm going to check the answers first before I have a shocker. Right, nice and easy. The position of an economy's long-run aggregate supply curve is determined by, right, it's by the productive capacity of the economy. So the answer is B. We know this. The AS curve goes out or goes in because of the productive capacity of the economy. So it's not going to be AD. It's not the amount of wages. That's quite an easy one. On to the second one. Right, economic growth is best defined as. Now, in my head, I like defining it in my own head first. So I know economic growth is when the productive capacity of the economy increases, in my opinion. So, is it going to be an increase in the short run aggregate supply? No, because it should be long run aggregate supply. Is it best defined as fluctuations in the level of real national output? No, because fluctuations could be up or down, so it doesn't really make any sense. C, growth in the productive potential of the economy, that's obviously right. Then D, a movement to the right within the productive possibility boundary, that's wrong, because that would be a thing where it goes from here to here. For that to happen, that means AD's gone up. For it to be proper economic growth, it has to be an increase in the AS line like that. Okay, or the productive capacity line. So that's wrong as well, so the answer is C. Really easy here, an increase in AD. What's going to cause an increase in AD? Now, is it going to be savings? No, because if people are saving more, what are they not doing? They're not spending. Because we know that's to do with the savings ratio. If people have got, in economics, they've got a choice. They either save or they spend. Okay, next. If there's an increase in imports, we know that's wrong. Because imports, when you go C plus I plus G plus X, and then it's minus imports. So imports are a reduction. When imports go up, it's actually going to reduce AD. So that's wrong. Okay. Which of the following is most... Okay, government tax revenue. Now, if the government are getting more tax in, this means they're probably taxing people more, which means people don't have as much money, so AD would be going down. So that's wrong. So what's the obvious answer? It's going to be an investment, because investment is part of AD. Okay. Okay, nice and easy this one, but I don't know. Every time I see these ones, I think I've got it in the bag. Then there'll be one that kind of half screws me over, right? Let's first of all go for the one that's definitely right. Okay, throughout this period, inflation, the rate of inflation or inflation was going up. So inflation here was in 2000 went up by 1.5%. Then it went up by 3%. Then it still went up, but by only 1.8%. So the whole way through, the inflation rate's going up. So when prices go up, this means the value of money goes down, if that makes any sense. So say you had £5 in the bank. If as prices are going up, you've still only got £5 in the bank, the value of that £5 is less. So that is the right answer. But let's say why the other ones are wrong. Okay, employment rose between 2000 and 2002. Now this thing's talking about the unemployment rate. So we can't say what's going on with employment. It's not that if more people are unemployed, that means less people must be employed. Because you don't know that. It could be that some people aren't participating in the economy. So don't ever go for that one. If it's talking about unemployment in a thing, you can't start talking about what it will mean for employment. Okay, B. Lots of people would have put B. Prices fell between 2001 and 2002. They didn't fall, they just went up by a slower rate. So that's wrong. Okay, C. There was an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment throughout the period. Okay, so that's got to be, for it to be throughout the period, it has to be when unemployment went down, inflation rate must have gone up. But here, the unemployment rate went down, but the inflation rate went down as well. So that means there wasn't an inverse relationship the whole way through, so that's wrong. Right, next one. This is not a much easier one, okay? A rise in the general level of interest rates. So we know when interest rates rise, AD is going to be going down. So, are people going to be saving less if there is a rise in interest rates? No, they'll be saving more because they've got more incentive to save. It's obviously a level of investment because if interest rates go up, then people aren't going to want to invest. The answer is B. Moving on quickly. Unemployment's likely to go up. Unemployment's going to go up because AD is going down, and so there'll be more cyclical unemployment, so it's wrong there. And then a rise in general level of interest rates is most likely to cause a fall in the exchange rate. Well, you don't need to know this for the minute, but actually that will cause a strong exchange rate. Whenever the interest rate goes up, in theory, it should cause the pound to get stronger, but you don't really need to know that yet. I'm going to quickly say like an easy version of why that is. The idea is that, say you were a French guy, so I'm going to say this little French man. I'm just going to write France rather than anything ridiculous. Okay, and you've got a choice of putting your money either in the UK bank, which is at 5% interest, or in a French bank, which is only getting like 2.5% interest. Where are you going to put your money? You're going to put your money in the UK bank, where it's got a high interest rate. So that means there'll be lots of demand for UK pounds, because you're going to put your money in the UK bank, and it's going to have to be in pounds. When there's high demand for pounds, it causes a strong pound. Now, do not let that in any way confuse anything you know about economics. I'm just saying something there, so don't feel like you have to remember that. Okay, so when an economy is operating at full employment, so let's do a little diagram. So the economy is at AD is right here, so it's at full employment. It's fully using the whole economy, right? Which of the following is most likely to be effective in reducing inflation? So it's going to be something that makes AD go down. Of course it is. That's what they're going to be trying to ask you to do. So will reducing imports work? No, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I think they just put that in there because they are just trying to confuse you. So it's not that. Would increasing investment work in the short run? No. That would work in the long run because it would make AS go outwards, but it wouldn't work in the short run. Okay, if we manage to make people save more, what they're not going to be doing, they're not going to be spending, which would make AD go to the left. So that's the right answer. And finally, D, reducing taxes on income. If you reduce tax on income, that would make AD go up and actually would cause more inflation. So that's wrong. Right, this is a confusing looking diagram, which is basically saying the LRAS line, long run aggregate supply line, is going outwards, right? And it's saying what could cause the long run aggregate supply curve to go outwards. We know we can remember Q squared cell if we want, quantity or quality of capital, enterprise, land or labour. But we're not going to say that for a minute, we're just going to have a look. Okay. Would an increase in taxation make firms be able to want to increase the productive capacity of the economy? No, it would go the wrong way. An increase in the level of interest rates, again, firms would invest less, so that wouldn't happen. See government expenditure on education and training. We know that is something that will improve the quality of labour. So we know that's right. So that would be, so the answer is C. And finally, if there's an increase in the level of welfare benefits, that means people will have less of an incentive to work, so that wouldn't make the long run aggregate supply curve go out. It might make AD go up, but that's not what the question's asking. Right, on to question number 8. Love this one. What do we say? As soon as we see an increase in the exchange rate, we know we're going to write spiced, because hopefully that will help us. Strong pound, imports cheap, exports dear. Okay, is there going to be an increase in the volume of exports? No, because exports are dear. Is there going to be an increase in the price of imports? No, because imports are cheap. Is there going to be a reduction in unemployment? No, unemployment will go up because with exports dear, AD will be going down, so there'll be more cyclical unemployment. And finally, will there be a reduction in the rate of inflation? That's the right answer, because if imports are cheap, firms can get raw materials for cheaper, which means their cost of production goes down, which means the short run aggregate supply curve will go to the left. So the answer is D. Right, a rise in investment is likely too. So, is it going to reduce aggregate demand or increase aggregate demand? You know it's going to increase it. So let's get rid of A and B straight away. So, is it going to increase aggregate demand and reduce the productive capacity? No, in the long run it will increase the productive capacity. So the answer is very easily D. When you see these sort of questions, you know you've got this in the bag. The only thing that can go wrong is getting it the wrong direction. So I'm going to just quickly say, look, short run aggregate supply has gone to the right. Okay, so that means that firms' cost of production must have gone down. I'm getting a bit of a deja vu here with this one because there's a very similar question in the previous paper. So, what could have caused it? A decrease in oil prices. Would that mean a firm's cost of production goes down? Yes, so that is the right answer. Moving on to just to check the other ones. An increase in employment. This would affect AD, so that's wrong. A decrease in the availability of credit, again that would affect AD, so it's irrelevant. And an increase in business costs would make short run aggregate supply curve shift to the left, so that's wrong. Okay. Number 11. Right, let's get rid of the first bit. First of all of the things being equal. Okay, which of the following is most likely to reduce the balance of payments deficit on the current account? Now remember, a balance of payments deficit is when you're importing more than you're exporting. Quite pleased with my little crocodile guy here. Anyway, so, what am I chatting about? Which of the following is most likely to reduce the balance of payments deficit? Okay, what's going to make us export more and import less? Right, an increase in the price level? No, that's going to actually make our exports less competitive, so that'll go the wrong way. An increase in government spending? This would again be wrong because that makes AD go up, which would make our goods less competitive abroad, because with AD going up, our goods will look more expensive. Right, an increase in income tax? That just means people are going to be buying less stuff. Here we go. So if there's an increase in income tax, what do people have? They've got less money. If they've got less money, what might they not buy? They might not buy imports. So that is the right answer, right? If there's an increase in the money supply, everyone will have more money. So what will they buy? They might buy imports. So it would make it go the wrong way. So the answer is C. Yes, we love this question. We know it. It's just we've got it in the bag, right? We'll get rid of that first of all. It says an initial increase in aggregate investment expenditure will lead to an even larger increase in national income. Now, without even looking at the answer, what do I know that's to do with? That's to do with the multiplier effect. Now, what they've tried to do is they've tried to confuse you by talking about investment expenditure leading to national income. So some of you will think about accelerator, but that's the wrong way around. With the accelerator effect, there's been an increase in AD, which causes firms to invest. With a multiplier effect, anything to do with AD going up. So we could have any part of C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Here they've said about investment expenditure, any of them going up, leading to an even larger increase in national income is the multiplier process. So we already know that's right, okay? Everything else is just there, and it's just talking rubbish. So that's the right answer. Right, on to 13, which I had to pause because I just had a bit of a shock on this one, right? You've got to make sure you get the right lines. So here we've got AD is going up, and we've got a firm's supply is going up as well. So if a firm supply more, their cost of production must be going down. So we've got these two factors. A firm's cost of production going down and AD going up. So let's see which one would make sense. Right, a cut in taxation. Would that make AD go up? Yeah, it would. So we know that can be right. So we've got a tick there. And a fall in raw material prices. So if there's a fall in raw material prices, a firm's cost of production would go down. So that's right as well. So we already know it's A. But just to be checking it, I just want to make sure. Right, B, a cut in taxation. That's right again. And a rise in raw material prices. This is wrong because it would make the short and aggregate supply curve go to the left. Let's go with C. An increase in taxation, obviously wrong straight away. And then D, obviously an increase in taxation is wrong again. So the answer is A. I love this question, and by now you should start loving them as well, because it's saying if the government would be undertaking a contractionary fiscal policy if it reduced. Now we know a contractionary fiscal policy is one which makes AD go down, and we know fiscal policy is anything to do with government spending, taxation and borrowing. So if it reduced government expenditure, that would make AD go down, so this is definitely the right answer. Right, why is B wrong? B is wrong because that is monetary policy. C is wrong because if they increase taxation, that would actually be a expansionary fiscal policy, and it would make AD go up, so that's wrong. And finally, D is wrong because the exchange rate is part of monetary policy. Right, finally, we're on to question number 15. I'll just cross this out. Right, demand pull inflation is most likely to result from an increase in. Now, the level of interest rates. Does that make sense? Oh, sorry. So there's been an increase in the level of interest rates. That would make people demand less, so that would cause demand pull inflation to go down, so that's wrong. Right, B, an increase in government spending. That would be right, because that's part of AD, so it could cause, AD's gone up, which would cause demand pull inflation. Right, the rate of income tax, if that goes up, people would be spending less, so AD would go down. And the cost of imported raw materials is a factor that would affect a firm's cost of production. And we know that's something that would affect cost push inflation, so it's not to do with this question, so that's wrong. So the answer is B.